There's a knight in the newest episode of House of the Dragon who does something no sword fight, no dragon, no green flame could do. He ends a civil war with one sentence. No blood, no fire, just a nod, and a city falls into place behind a new queen. And if his face looked familiar to you, you're not imagining things. You've seen this man before, just not in Westeros. You've seen him in a very different kind of drawing room, wearing a very different kind of coat. Today we're talking about Ser Luthor Largent, the actor behind him, and why this 5-minute scene might be the most quietly important moment in the entire season. Let's get into it. Quick context if you're catching up. House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 2 just handed us the moment the whole show has been building toward since the Season 2 finale. Rhaenyra Targaryen finally takes King's Landing. Not with a dragon strike, not with an army breaking down the gates. With a setup, Alicent Hightower, the woman who has spent 2.5 seasons as Rhaenyra's rival, quietly does the one thing nobody expected. She clears the path. First, she talks Prince Regent Aemond into flying Vhagar out to Harrenhal, getting the single biggest threat to Team Black out of the city. Then she goes somewhere far less glamorous than a throne room. She walks into the barracks of the City Watch and has a conversation with their commander. That commander is Ser Luthor Largent. And that conversation is the whole ballgame. When Daemon and Rhaenyra land in the capital, the King's Guard, the White Cloaks, step up to block them from the Iron Throne. For a second, it looks like a standoff. And then the Gold Cloaks show up. Ser Luthor's men. More of them better positioned and loyal to a man they haven't served under in 20 years. Daemon Targaryen, the guy who literally built the City Watch back in Season 1. The White Cloaks surrender. The city falls without a real fight. And the man who made that possible is the guy we're talking about today. So here's the moment that probably sent half of you straight to Google mid-episode. Under the beard, the scraggly hair, and about 40 pounds of medieval armor, that's Tom Cullen. And if you're a Downton Abbey fan, your brain just did a full system reboot. Cullen played Tony Gillingham, Lady Mary's second serious suitor after Matthew Crawley's death. He was a Viscount, technically the right match on paper, all the boxes checked. And Lady Mary still wasn't interested. Even her own father, Lord Grantham, basically said the guy wasn't strong enough to handle her. Gillingham lost her to Henry Talbot in the end and married someone else entirely. Funny thing, watching Cullen now, House of the Dragon basically cast the anti-Gillingham. Instead of a nobleman who couldn't hold his ground, he's playing a man who single-handedly decides who sits on the Iron Throne. That's a glow-up, and Downton isn't even close to his only credit. Cullen was in Black Mirror in the very first season, in the episode The Entire History of You, which is still one of the most unsettling hours of television Charlie Brooker ever wrote. He played Leonard Sipp in Orphan Black. He played Guy Fawkes in the miniseries Gunpowder, alongside Kit Harington, which, funny enough, means Cullen and Harington were doing gunpowder plots together before either of them ended up in the Thrones universe. He's also been in Nightfall and Becoming Elizabeth. Here's the detail worth sitting with, though. Out of the entire, sprawling Downton Abbey cast, Cullen is the only one who's made the jump into House of the Dragon. In a franchise stacked with British theater and prestige drama veterans, that's a surprisingly exclusive club to be first in. Now, if you only watch the show, Ser Luthor Largent might feel like a brand new character. He isn't. He was actually name-checked all the way back in Season 1. In this new episode, right after backing Rhaenyra's claim, Luthor thanks Daemon for making him a gold cloak 20 years ago. That's not throwaway dialogue. That's a direct callback to King Viserys' reign, meaning this guy has been quietly sitting in the background of the entire show, waiting for his moment. And in George R.R. Martin's source material, Fire and Blood, Luthor Largent has a lot more going on than the show has shown us so far. In the book, he's not some background captain who politely switches sides. He's the guy who runs a sword through Alicent's own brother, Ser Gawain Hightower, when Gawain tries to sound the alarm and calls him a traitor. The book version's response is basically, these cloaks are gold no matter which way you turn them. Then Gawain dies right there in the stables. The show has already broken from that. In this adaptation, Gawain isn't even in King's Landing during the takeover. He's off in the Riverlands with Ser Criston Cole, which means that particular gruesome book moment can't happen the way Martin wrote it. And that raises the real question for anyone who's read ahead. In Fire and Blood, Luthor Largent does not get a happy ending. His story gets dark, and it gets violent. The show has already rewritten a chunk of his book arc once. The question going into the rest of this season is whether they'll rewrite the ending too, or let him meet the fate Martin gave him. Given how often this show has deviated from the books to serve its own character work, I wouldn't bet on a straight adaptation here. Here's the part that's easy to skim past if you're just watching for dragons. Ser Luthor and the City Watch aren't done. Rhaenyra doesn't just need to win the city, she needs to hold it. And the Gold Cloaks are about to become one of the most important pieces on the board. Think about what the City Watch actually represents at this point in the story. They're not soldiers loyal to a Targaryen bloodline out of tradition. They just switch sides because Daemon walked back into town. That kind of loyalty can flip again, especially once Rhaenyra's reign starts to get, let's say, unpopular and food shortages and unrest start creeping into King's Landing, which the show has already been setting up. That's the real reason this episode matters beyond the spectacle. The Iron Throne didn't fall to Rhaenyra because of dragons. It fell because a handful of men with gold cloaks decided it should, which means the same handful of men could decide, later, that it shouldn't. Worth noting, too, this episode is currently sitting at a 9.4 on IMDb, the highest-rated episode the show has ever put out. Reception elsewhere has actually been a little more mixed. Some critics loved the emotional gut punch of Rhaenyra's reaction to Jace's death and the sheer scale of the takeover, while others felt some of the political maneuvering, especially around Alicent, moved a little too fast to really land. Either way you land on that, Tom Cullen could not have picked a bigger episode to make his debut. Next time you're watching House of the Dragon, and a random knight hands the throne to your favorite Targaryen. Take a second look. That might be Tony Gillingham under all that armor. If you want more House of the Dragon breakdowns, book versus show comparisons, and character deep dives dropping through the rest of the season, you know what to do. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.